like supporting them emotionally, because emotions are always a big part of appetite changes for sure, like a big part of it. And then being there to support them and help them. And if they just know that you're there, they'll come to you. They will.
Hello, before we dive into today's episode with Lisa Moskovitz, who's a registered dietitian, we're going to be talking about 3 tips for your teens and young adults to start out healthy eating for the new school year or new college year. And even for young adults and for moms, it's always a great refresher to get a fresh start. So first tip is around energy drinks. So many of us want to yell at our teens and young adults, say, don't drink those. They're so bad for you. You're going to end up in the emergency room. I'm not buying those for you, right? It becomes a little bit of a threat and a little bit of a power struggle. So I want to offer the idea that instead of, reducing or restricting, we kind of want to go more in the idea of talking about the energy crash. So we all know that kids are running in fumes and they are so busy, especially with classes and sports and activities. And if they're in college, like all the nightlife that's going on, right? How easy is it for them to just grab that in the morning and head off to class? Well, what happens when evening comes and they start to get a crash going? They a lot of times get a second one. I know kids drink 2 and 3, hopefully not more than that in one day, because we're talking, over 1,000 milligrams of caffeine in one day, and that's not good for anybody. And so it becomes this vicious cycle, because what kind of sleep are you able to get if you've had that much caffeine throughout the day? Really, it's not going to be good quality sleep at all if you get any. And then it just becomes this vicious cycle that, becomes their kind of go-to. And before you know it, the school year's gone by and they're just really probably moody, they're irritable, they're exhausted, right? They're kind of feeling very emotional, because that's what happens when you haven't had good sleep for a long time. And so just the idea about reframing that this crash happens, and we don't want to crash. We want to more maybe swap it out for something lower caffeine, maybe even a coffee, maybe even a green tea with lower milligrams of caffeine if they are reaching for that energy drink or for that second drink, that like maybe try something else instead. See if you can get through your day, focus on getting a good sleep. So that way we're not going that downward spiral. Hopefully we're just kind of staying even keeled. Tip number 2 is talking about eating in the cafeteria or in the dining hall. It's just building your plate. So much what happens, I hear my clients all the time, even just a few weeks into college, they're already sick of the dining hall. They don't want to eat there anymore. And because it's kind of work when you go in there, right? They get this decision fatigue. And so what happens is they just easily settle into a habit or pattern where they go for the salad and the pizza, or, the soup and the salad, just whatever's easy, whatever's quick to get through the line and go sit with their friends. And so I want to start off the school year by just framing it as building a plate, right? And so that way you can swap out different pieces. So if we go for half of the plate with fruits and vegetables, like lots of color, and maybe about a quarter of the plate, protein, eggs, meat, whatever they want to have. And then the other quarter, carbs, pasta, rice, whatever needs to happen there. But just the idea that they're building and creating can be more fun instead of just this dreaded idea of, oh my gosh, what am I going to eat? Or I don't want to eat that again. I'm so sick of this. Right? It can kind of become a fun little project. And again, thinking about those protein and fiber to keep them fueled up for the day means they will not need to reach for the energy drink. They will be fueled up. They're not going to be, crashing when they are satiating their body and giving it the energy that it naturally needs. And then tip number 3 is just keeping it simple. So if you do have a kiddo who is in an apartment or living somewhere where they are able to cook a little bit on their own, even some dorms have kitchens where they can cook, just keeping it simple, keeping it stocked up with things they can grab and go, or just really easily prepare, like those bagged rice or microwavable rice and frozen vegetables. Or, I personally love fresh, crunchy vegetables with some hummus. Hard-boiled eggs are always great for kids. Scrambled eggs if they can make them, but just things that are going to be easy, affordable, easy to clean up. We don't want to have all those dishes in the sink where it's bothering their roommates, right? We want to make it easy so that they can be out the door and off to their things. So just getting started with those 3 tips. Good luck. I hope your kiddo has a healthy start to the new year, and enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. I'm your host, Laura Ollinger, teen and young adult well-being coach and founder of Positively Healthy Coaching. I'm very excited to introduce you today to Lisa Moskovitz, who is a registered dietitian, founder of the New York Nutrition Group, and author of the Core 3 Healthy Eating Plan. So, Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and hopefully shed some more light on the very complicated world of nutrition.
Yes. So with that being said, as moms, we are kind of the leaders of the family, relating to a lot of things, but specifically nutrition as well. Mm-hmm. I know there are some dads who are very involved in the kitchen out there, and not to discount them in any way. But we are kind of that role model for our family. And so it's kind of up to us to be making these decisions from the time they're very small through teenager up to adulthood, and kind of setting that tone and culture in our family about like, what is food about? Like, what is the shared experience that we're doing? Is it just shoving stuff down our mouth? Or is it enjoying kind of that quality time together? Or it's kind of like, what does this mean? Like this eating, this idea of we need it for survival, but like there's kind of more to it. So what is your philosophy around eating and families?
Yeah, for sure. I do think a lot of times it does fall on the moms, let's call a spade a spade. We do carry a lot of weight, and I think there is a lot of pressure that comes from the maternal side of things to make sure, right, that there is healthy meals on the table and the cooking. And like you said, yes, there are times where there are dads who are more involved in the kitchen. The reality is, I'm sure most people listening to this are moms who carry that burden, and it is not, there's definitely rewards to that, but like I said, there's also this potential pressure, right, to be perfect, to make sure we're feeding our kids the best food and that we're raising these healthy, intuitive eaters and, with good body image and self-confidence. But here's the reality, right? I am a dietitian. I am a mother of 3. And I can tell you right now, I've been doing this for 17 years and I still don't have it all figured out. It's never going to be a perfect thing. There is no manual, right, or rule book that will tell us exactly what to do, when to do it, with anything, with parenting, but especially with food. We don't know what potential types of personalities we're dealing with as they get older. They evolve into things that they like, they don't like. There are kids that are just pickier eaters. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. And there is still a possibility they will grow out of it, or there's a possibility that they won't, and that they just have these very selective preferences for what they want to eat. So truly my philosophy is to be as realistic as possible. I don't think anybody makes a lot of good long-term sustainable changes when they're being bombarded with all of these shoulds and should nots. Like you shouldn't be doing that. And this is good and this is bad. That polarizing black and white thinking is the problem. That is the one problem that I see with my client and patient population when it comes to their children and themselves. So just giving yourself some, I like to call good enough goals, like enough, because that's the best that we could hope for, and striving for perfection will inevitably fail almost every single time.
Yes, it's so funny that you say that, because that's exactly, I sometimes even put a number on it. Some of my earlier podcast episodes talk about 80% or 90%, but not even in relation to food, but it's about parents who want their kids to have a really clean room. And like, is 80% okay with you? Because we might not need to focus on the 100% because that's just stressing everybody out. Right. And so that's kind of the way I live my life. If you walk into my house at any time, my kitchen will be between 80 and 90% clean. My family room, 80, right? Like, and yes, maybe we have guests over and we go for the 100% sometimes, but that's not the focus. That's not reality. That's not everyday life. So I like what you're saying, and just taking those extreme black and white thinking out, and just kind of think like, what's reality and how can we not be miserable trying to figure this out, and just actually maybe even make this an enjoyable, topic and activity for the family to work on together. Because at the end of the day, we need their feedback, right? Like we can't just, they're not little robots. We have to have their feedback and input into what we're doing as a family as far as eating. So
Yeah.
You mentioned body image as
Yeah.
being like an important factor here, and what are your thoughts about that? How do you create that within your own kids and within yourself and for your patients?
For sure. I mean, it always starts with what the kids are witnessing and observing, right? It starts with how are we speaking about ourselves? We hear that a lot. Like, don't obviously, if you're not, we all have days we wake up, we're just not feeling it. We feel bloated. Maybe we're getting our period. There's nobody has a perfect body image all the time or wakes up every day saying, I feel great. Like, if
Mhm.
they do, if there is someone like that out there, please tell me what you're taking and I will buy it for you. Like, that
Yeah.
just isn't, again, a reality. So,
Right.
but it's being extra careful with these sponge-like minds who are really learning from us. And if we make it okay to stand in front of the mirror and put ourselves down or say, I look fat or I look horrible or ugh, look at my this or that, or I ate too much, I better go to the gym later. Like,
Mm.
these might be thoughts that you're having, which is a whole other topic of maybe addressing that for you individually, which is important, right? But specifically in the position as a parent, we really want to be extra careful. Again, not going to be perfect at it. There's going to be times you might slip up, but that's where a lot of this starts. Then after that, it's really emphasizing and making sure we're highlighting qualities of our kids that extend beyond the appearance, right? Like,
Mm.
let's say you
Mhm.
take your child to the doctor and the doctor says, I'm worried about your child's weight. This happens a lot. We really want to make it clear that they're not a problem, that their weight is not the problem, but that we're here to help model and teach them healthier habits. So not only is that good practice for our children who are learning from our every move, again, no pressure
Yeah.
at all. That's how it
They're
is.
watching you. They're always watching.
Look, if we mess up, I just say it gives them a little character. It's okay to mess up here and there because it
Yeah.
gives them character.
Right.
So we don't want to raise them in a bubble. But it's these little things that really can make a big difference of let's go for a walk together. Not okay, you need to go play soccer because you need to burn calories. Not most parents understand not to say that to their child, but making it like part of your experiences together. One of the other, and this is actually, there's been a ton of research on this, and I know it's hard for a lot of families, especially when two parents are working, to get dinner on the table, but having family dinners at least like 2 to 3 times a week, again, is a good enough goal.
Mhm.
There is extensive and continuous research on the benefits of that for our children's relationship with food and their body image. So just being sitting
Mm.
down to a meal as much as you can. It's not going to be every night. If it is, that's amazing. But if it's
Yeah.
not, don't feel bad or feel like you're failing. But just aiming for to do that a few times a week. If you're doing that 0 times, try to do it once a week. If you're doing it
Mhm.
once a week, try to do it 2 to 3 times a week. And then that could be a good goal up to three. Because again, realistically, it's not going to happen. But what it's doing is it's kind of instilling this idea for the children, right? For your kids that food is a safe place, that meals are meant to be shared together. I also see this a lot among my clients and myself as a parent and as, just friends and family members, that the more you have meals together, it can also help with a lot of the pickiness and the selectiveness. So when your kids
Mm.
see you eating salads and eating salmon and eating all these different kinds of vegetables and starches and proteins, we are exposing them, right? Like, it's exposure. The nights that we don't sit down to a family meal together, I don't know about everybody else out there, but I'm giving my kids frozen chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese. If I'm not eating with them, that is my default. That's what they
Mhm.
want. It's easier for me. So I'm like, heck yeah. Like, if I don't have to stand there. So, but when we do sit down to a meal together, it is very different looking. It is corn on the
Mm.
cob with a fish or steak or chicken, and these are things that, again, they might not always want to eat. And there might be nights where they're like, no, I don't want it. But the exposure, the familiarity, the routine, and the consistency is really what matters most. So even if they're not eating
Mm.
anything, even if they're not touching it, and this goes too for pickiness, like exposure over time. I know this is not at all your question about body image, but
That's
it's
okay.
related a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all built into this upbringing that we have where we learn about how to feed ourselves, nourish ourselves, that food is okay, that it's not meant to control. So a lot of times with disordered eating, the driving cause behind eating disorders and disordered eating. It's not the only thing, 'cause there's a lot of different facets to it. But a big
Mhm.
driver is the body image, is the not feeling good, not feeling worthy, looking in the mirror, having a little dysmorphia even where maybe they're not overweight or not clinically considered, to be in a higher BMI or overweight or obese, but they still feel that way. They still
Mhm.
feel like they're taking up too much space or that they're not attractive or that they're, you know, and so then it can kind of spiral from there. So again, then it can look like and sort of manifest into more disordered eating tendencies of restriction, binging, emotional eating, private eating. And so it's really important that we understand that these two things operate together. Your relationship with food and your body image often go hand in hand to the point
Mm.
where a lot of people really struggle to trust and listen to their body with food when they feel like they're at a weight that they're not happy with. It is a lot easier to
Mm.
sit here and be like, I'm going to trust my body and listen to my hunger and fullness cues when your clothes are fitting you properly. And when they're not, or when you see a number on the scale you're not used to, or someone, makes a comment to you, it immediately unravels and dismantles that trust. It's just harder. It is. So we
Mhm.
still need to work on both, right? But that's the kind of understanding that as a dietitian who specializes in this, I always want to make sure my patients understand. I know it is a lot harder. So again, working with kids when they're younger, really instilling these ideas around how to have a healthy relationship with food and a healthy lifestyle is important, but it's less about appearance and numbers and more about taking care of yourself, nurturing yourself, trusting yourself. So that's really what we at the end of the day can sit back and go, you know what? I did the best I can. I gave them all the tools. And then, yes, there's a whole world out there and there's social media, unfortunately. And I always say, like, I am grateful I did not grow up with Instagram or
Yeah.
Facebook because it wasn't around. And I'm so grateful. But oh my gosh, I am so scared for my kids once they have a cell phone and they're going to have
Mhm.
access to it because it's as an adult, right? As we're adults, we think very rationally. We understand how the world works and we can still be affected by it. Imagine
Mhm.
children who don't understand the difference between reality and fake.
Right.
So having that solid home, foundation is the best way to strengthen their resiliency and protect them. That's it. You can't
Mm.
keep them away from all these things, but we can work on it at home, make sure they have a good foundation.
Yes, yes. And so with that said, teenagers are kind of notorious for wanting their independence, wanting to make their own decisions, and a lot of times they end up not really eating well, and it's not
Yep.
because we're not providing it. Maybe they do eat the family meal, right? But then they're off on the weekend doing something with their
Oh, yeah.
friends and right? And so like what is your way to encourage moms or encourage kids to really be mindful to like the benefits of getting that proper nutrition?
Absolutely. Right. Kids want to experiment. A lot of what I'm learning as, a parent of young children, but also knowing what it was like to be a teenager is a lot of times it's a power thing. It's a control struggle. It's a power
Yeah.
struggle. It's a control thing. It's kids wanting to practice their independence. And when they feel
Mhm.
like they're constricted in any way, it's rebelling against that. So our kids need to know we trust them, right? They need to know that we trust them. And that extends 100% to food. So
Mm.
if what I see a lot, because I do work with a lot of patients and clients who are in their teenage years and their parents will call me up to make an appointment. I'm worried about my child, they're not eating well, or my 13-year-old girl is complaining about like being too overweight and she wants to lose weight. All of her friends are wearing crop tops and she doesn't feel comfortable. So how could I help her lose weight? It is such a delicate topic
Yeah.
talking about weight with teenagers, especially women, females and girls, but also boys. They are not
Mm.
immune to any of it. And the body comparison and the looking on, again, social media and seeing celebrities on TV. So we really, again, want to, first of all, have those meals together as much as you can. Have a variety of nutritious and healthy foods at home, but do not demonize foods at the same time. Don't make
Mm.
certain foods off limits. The moment, and
Mhm.
I see this a lot, and again, I understand why. I get why, as parents, we really want to do everything to protect our children, right?
Yeah.
It's so innate. Like if we
Yes.
see that our child could be hurt or harmed or anything, and sometimes it's with weight, right? Like you see, oh my gosh, my little girl, she is maybe in a higher weight category for her height and her age, and I don't want her to get made fun of because we know how kids can be horrible to each other because they're still figuring out how to treat people with respect, and we just want to do everything we can to protect them. And so we think like, how could we do that? Like maybe I need to put her on a diet or get rid of all the food in the house. And I get that. But all that's doing, unfortunately, is it's creating desire. You're teaching your children that these foods are bad. They are off limits. They are not good for you. Being in a larger body is not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, all good intentions, coming from the right place, totally get it. But I just have to say this as loudly and on as many platforms as I can, that that will only lead to a path of them feeling like either they're not valuable unless they're at in a smaller body, or that if they eat a certain food, they're automatically bad people. Right? So it's
Mm.
teaching them, it's attaching morals and confidence to food and
Yeah.
attaching a number on the scale to their self-worth and their value. So the best thing we can do is say, okay, I understand you're not feeling good about yourself. All I want you to do at the end of the day, we want our kids to be happy. We want them to be healthy. We want them to feel good about themselves. We want them to have all the tools. So it's going back to the modeling the behaviors. Maybe if you think that your child is too sedentary or needs to move more, do it with them. Do activity
Mm-hmm.
with them or find them an activity that they enjoy. So it's not about just exercising as a punitive, compensatory type of behavior, like you need to
Right.
exercise to lose weight or because you ate this, you have to exercise, which is also not very healthy. But it's more of like this is enjoyable. This is
Right.
fun. This is, you clear your head. It's for mental health. Teach them
Yeah.
that exercise is good for mental health and that
Mm-hmm.
food is fuel and nourishment and that all foods can fit. But there are certain foods that our body needs more of, that uses more efficiently for energy, and just keep kind of reiterating the connection with that and explaining it that way to our kids so that they really understand that weight and calories is not we're going to get, that's not how we're going to be happy. It's just not.
Mm. Yeah.
I see too many adults in my office rehashing their child. So, and again, it's no one's fault because parents just
Yeah.
we want the best for our child. We're
Right.
being protective. But, it sticks with them. They internalize it, and it really hardwires their brain later on. So if that's been
Mm.
happening, there is still
Yeah.
time. Like, again, like you
Yeah.
didn't do permanent damage because even adults can get over it as adults when they do the work. But that's why I like to emphasize it so much for my parents of younger children, and like teenagers especially.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Does your teenager tend to freak out when the new school year is about to start? Well, here's the good news. They don't have to. Sign your teen up for my free webinar called How to Start the School Year Without Freaking Out. We will tackle time management, the skills to handle the stress and pressure of school, social life, social media, and the brain-body connection behind stress and focus. Sign them up. The link is in my show notes. They're going to love it.
And if you like that, where this is leading me is kind of like restrict. You're saying like don't restrict, right? But
Yeah.
like if you are allowing, let's just say sugar, for
Yeah.
example, in your house, some desserts and sweet treats, and you do happen to have a child that has a sweet tooth, right?
Yes.
And you go back in the room or in the pantry the next day, and the whole package of cookies are gone, or the whole, if say they're homemade, whatever they are, just
Yeah.
container. Like, how do you address that? Like, hey, who ate all the cookies? Or like, what's going on here? Like, how do you make it not a big deal where you're not stigmatizing this food?
Yeah.
You're trying to educate, but at the same time, sugar addiction is real. Sugar craving is real. Like, cutting
Yeah.
that out is not easy. So, like, how do you address like a really complicated topic like that?
Yeah. I mean, I would want to first understand how old is the child, what else is going on in their diet before I jump to any conclusions. Because obviously, if it's like a younger child doing that all the time, I do wonder, like, are they very active and maybe they just really need like a bigger serving of pasta at dinner, or like they need an extra snack or something else, that's always my first go-to, with adults included. If you're having strong cravings and you're feeling out of control around food, I do always question, like, are you actually fueling yourself enough? Are you getting in enough nutrients and protein and carb, the higher fiber starches that our body really can benefit from? So that's always the first place I come from. And then it's like, are you restricting it? So are you restricting these kinds of foods? And that's why you're feeling out of control around them
Mm,
later. So if it's happening, you notice that, maybe see if there's something else you can give to your child or offer them more food and snacks during the day. If they're
mhm.
doing it in private, right, which does happen as young as like 7, 8-year-olds can start doing this because I've heard about it before.
Yeah.
Um, I would definitely do your best, and it might not happen. You might not see a change overnight, but coming from a place of yes is what I usually say. So, like, yes, you ate all the cookies. Okay, you must have been hungry, honey. Like, you could have these cookies, but this is going to be an after dinner kind of treat. We first need to have, meals and food during the day, even though we're sort of taught that we don't want to necessarily say, like, you have to finish all your broccoli in
Right.
order to
Yeah.
have a cookie, because then that teaches them that they have to earn it. And again, it kind of
Yeah.
goes back to the, like, this is like something that's off limits. Like, any
Mhm.
idea that it's off limits, it really is psychology 101. We want what we can't have. We
Yeah.
want what we can't have. With
Yeah.
anything in life, that is just
Mhm.
how humans are hardwired. So making it accessible, making it allowed, there are different schools of thought on this. So I won't say that I've firmly fallen one camp or the other, because I think it depends on the family and the child. But there are some schools of thought of, even like with children, they want a sense of control. They want to rebel if they feel too restricted and controlled and contained. Like, it's an instinct to want to
Mhm.
act out. And so I
Yeah.
know there are moms out there and dads and parents who feel like they have to put locks on cabinets and really put things away and high up and out of sight. And all I can say is, like, if it's working, great, but I do question how long that will last, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
go out and they go to their friends' houses, and when they're older and they, are eventually it's going to catch up to them. We cannot
Yeah.
sugar them from any type of sugar. So again, all that we can do is to try to reduce the stigma and this concept that there are good foods and bad foods, and just
Mhm.
think about nutrition by addition. What could we be
Mm.
adding in and offering more? So the more we have available on the counter when they get home, that's ready to go. You're hungry, babe? I got a fruit salad for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, not saying this is possible all the time. I
Yeah.
can have days where I'm back to back with clients all day, and I just, like, my kids walk in the door and I'm like, go help yourself. I got to go see a client, and they'll get whatever they want. But as much as we can, offering
Mhm.
it, having it available, even if they say no, keep offering it.
Mm.
The old research studies showed it was like 10 times was the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Times of exposure before they might be more willing to try something, but don't give up until that 10th time. Now I think it's even like 15. So it kind of
Mhm.
has gone up a little bit.
Yeah.
Or that we could offer it, and it's easy to get discouraged and go, why am I doing this? Why am I wasting all this money and time on this food they're not eating? But it is doing something. It is still worth
Mhm.
the investment. It is still having an impact on them more than you might notice. And
Mhm.
that's the best that we can do. So if you find that they're eating more of this junk food, quote unquote junk food, or, stuff from the cabinet that we know has very little nutritional value, I would just say, coming from a place of yes, coming from a place of what could I add in more that might help
Mhm.
with these cravings, and
Mhm.
then also making it okay that, like, more throughout the day, so that they are exposed to a little bit more often. And I mean, I came from a house. My mom got, like, she's great. She's still, like, very into health, but she would be a little bit more on the restrictive side. We had food, but it was
Mhm.
never like tons of snack food or anything like that. And I would go to my friends' houses and I would walk in and their cabinets would be filled with, like,
Yeah.
Dunkaroos and
All the good stuff.
Foods
Yeah.
and Spider Foot and all that stuff that we grew up with.
Yeah.
And I'd always be like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. How do," and I would, like, my friends would be sitting there like, "You could have something. I don't want anything." Like, they didn't wanna eat any of it. It was
Yeah.
always,
Because
like,
it was.
astonishing to me. Even as a young girl, I was like, "How do you not wanna eat any of it? Like, we don't have any of this at home."
Yeah.
And so, like, I am a living, walking billboard for, like, the more that it's available,
Mm,
the less likely they are to grow up having like this compulsion
yeah.
and like binging type of personality. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so last topic is about college freshmen. So I have a daughter who's about to go to her first year of college, going, away, living in the dorm, all that stuff. What is your advice or encouragement for that age group?
Absolutely. So this is an age where they're starting to become more independent. That's the point of college. Like if we learn one thing at college, it's
Yeah.
how to be independent people, how to manage our time. And so that absolutely also can be challenging with food. I again have counseled a lot of girls in college, and it's a lot of like, I haven't eaten all day and then I'm eating all night, or I hate the food in the dining hall, so I'm just going out all the time with my friends, or I'm just like up at night trying to study and snacking. Freshman 15 is real. We know that that is a possibility. Not every person succumbs to that, but a lot do, because again, managing time, not having structure. So I think that it's really important to, again, what kind of snacks can you have around that we know are giving you energy and fuel? What are things that will give you energy? And really making that clear to your children that you just want to make sure they have enough protein options around, that there's some kind of routine. I would even say if there's one meal of the day that we can just kind of emphasize, like make sure that you at least get a high protein breakfast. Like what are some options you can eat in the dining hall? If not, maybe there's things that you can, either tell them that they can buy or you could provide it to them, but maybe like the oats overnight, which is like the higher protein oatmeal,
Hmm.
some kind of higher fiber, higher protein cereal. I'm just thinking simple things that a college kid would even like, they're not going to scramble eggs, right? So
Yeah.
these are all things that will make it much easier to have that protein and fiber in the morning. Um, and just kind of leading with that, right? Like
Hmm.
these are the nutrients that I know are going to help your concentration throughout the day, and and then letting them kind of be more independent with it. So again, if you notice they're gaining weight or maybe they're losing weight. Sometimes too, it can come either way. And as parents, again, we're so hyper focused on like everything about our children a lot of times. And we're like focused on how they look and their appearance, because that's sometimes the only information we get from them. But
Yes.
just not leading with like, you look too skinny, or you look, definitely not, you look like you gain weight. Like
Yeah.
see it as like a deeper thing. Like, is everything okay? Want to make
Hmm.
sure you're eating enough, like trying not to emphasize too much. Obviously, if it's a lot and significant, then that's a different story, but if
Hmm.
it's subtle and only something maybe you're noticing, then just kind of knowing, like supporting them emotionally, because emotions are always a big part of appetite changes for
Hmm.
sure, like a
Hmm.
big part of it. And then being there to support them and help them. And if they just know that you're there, they'll come to you. They will. If you come at them and try to make a comment about their weight, they're automatically going to shut down. You're not going to get any.
Yes.
You're not. So that's what I would say. Just try to support them. Know that you're there. Check in on them. Offer to send snacks that are high protein, high fiber, so like nuts and nut butters and like
Mm.
high protein, high fiber cereals, like fiber kind of crackers, like Wassa crackers, and cheese sticks and yogurt and things if they have like a mini fridge, because that's
Hmm.
kind of what the college life is like. They get sick of the dining hall,
Oh,
like
yeah.
we all did. So the snacking is okay. Just directing them a little bit about like, these are the two nutrients, this protein and fiber, that's going to
Hmm.
make you feel better and give you energy to go to classes and concentrate. And then you can still socialize too. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
where,
And so important on the energy because I feel like everyone's drinking 5 energy drinks a day.
yep.
All the teens and young adults that I know, I'm sure you hear
Oh
that
my
a lot
gosh.
too. And so
Yeah.
I like the idea of just like energy doesn't have to come from a can, it can come from other sources.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Because again, they're not eating enough. Their meals are all over the place. They're up all night. Their sleep schedule is off. Like they're learning. That's what college is for, though. That's the biggest life lesson. You just
Oh,
figure
yeah.
out how to take care of yourself really fast.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Well, Lisa, thank you for this time and
Yeah.
conversation. How can people find you going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So my private practice is New York Nutrition Group. We have offices, physical offices in Manhattan, but we do telehealth and virtual across the country. We have
Okay.
26 registered dietitians with a variety of specialties, including pediatrics and disordered eating and, teenage years for sure. Moms, absolutely. And we take all major health insurances. So a lot of times it's covered
Oh, awesome.
100%. So Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, Oxford, Medicare, some Medicaid plans. So we take it all and, can definitely provide more one-on-one personal advice.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, thank you for your time today. And I feel like I learned so much and had great conversation. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Okay.
When you get a chance, please go to the show notes and click on the link ratethispodcast.com/TPHmom to give my podcast a rating and review. And if this episode resonates with you, be sure to share it with your mom friends who are going through the same things. Be sure to tune in for next week's conversation. Until then, keep up the good work.